skating was my outlet, and the fact that there really is no outlet for me anymore kind of makes things really, really difficult.
Nobody really knew what was going to happen because COVID had started spreading a lot.
This season, I kind of had to take a step back and think, like, why am I skating? Why am I here? Why do I do what I do?
It's a sport. It's something you love to do. Don't take that for granted because you don't know when you're going to have to stop. Synchro is a discipline of figure skating where there are 16 skaters on the ice.
All at the same time, we get to do all these different elements and tricks connected all the time in close proximities.
It's a contact sport, and we skate together, connecting and doing different types of elements and formations on the ice.
So Skyliners Senior was formed in 2012. We currently practice in Stamford, Connecticut and Muncie, New York. We are a Team USA team, and we have qualified for the World Championships 3 times, starting in 2018 and going to 2020.
Last season, I was a trainer on the team, and the team competed in Italy right when everything started breaking out. They actually got back from Milan, I think the day after or the day before. Milan went straight into lockdown.
I remember when we were in Italy, we heard while we were there about a case outside of Milan, and that was like a little scary, but also it was pretty isolated from where we were at the time, so we didn't think that much about it. And then we competed and we came home, and a handful of days after we came home, they shut down Milan, which was a little terrifying to look at on the news. We were very thankful we got home, but at the same time we were like, oh man, it's going down.
We get back from Italy, start training, go to nationals. Everything is going pretty okay.
After nationals, which were in Rhode Island had its first case. So we kind of started calling ourselves like patient 0. And then after nationals, we were named to the world team because we got second.
We had a little meeting with all the officials afterwards, being like, congrats, you're nominated to the world team. They also mentioned that as of right now, they were planning on going through with Worlds. They were monitoring the situation with COVID, but they were doing everything they could to make sure that Worlds would happen.
And then after Providence, it became pretty apparent that something was going on, and it was a lot bigger than I think anybody thought it was. I remember things started getting canceled or delayed the week before our last practice, and we all went into that practice kind of on the fence about we wanted to keep training and we wanted to keep trying, but the world seems to be burning down around us. And I remember we went to practice and we asked the question whether or not anyone thought World was going to get canceled, and we had a judge there that day and she said, no, like, it's on, keep training, keep trying. I remember we went home that week and everything got canceled, and about a week after that practice, Friday the 13th, fun little day, Friday the 13th was when Worlds got canceled, and that was kind of devastating.
My literal life dream was to skate at a US Worlds, and COVID taking that away from me really mentally ruined my perspective on a lot of things. So it's been really hard for me to stay positive.
I think the loss hit after we all went our separate ways and we weren't with the team anymore, and all of the people that you kind of counted on to hold you up through it and hold each other up, just the support system, it was still there, but it wasn't immediately there. So it was tough.
My thoughts going into the season were actually really, really hopeful. I've been kind of the person that's been like, it's not that bad. So I was very, very hopeful that there would be a season and that things were going to progress the way that we wanted them to.
I was really unsure going into the season, which is very different from me. I'm usually all in, cannot wait to get the season started, but I had a lot of doubt in my mind after Worlds was canceled. So what happened this season was we started online, which was completely different than any other season I've ever had.
Our tryouts were virtual, so we had to submit videos. Josh gave us our spring training contracts, and since we couldn't physically be together because we were all technically on quarantine in our own homes in different states, the best we could do is our Zoom fitness classes and our Zoom ballet classes.
Normal spring training is often a lot of ice time with new people and figuring out different elements and who does what really well and what you need to work on, like as individuals and as a team. So there's a lot of practicing different elements really frequently and repeating it a lot versus to this year where we weren't on the ice at all.
As a new skater on the team, I couldn't even really meet anybody. Like, I just saw these faces on squares on my computer, and I'm like, oh, like I know who this person is and I know who that person is, but I didn't really get to meet anybody.
For me, since starting in March, I had school completely online. It was kind of just like, oh, I have to go to another Zoom meeting. It was definitely hard with fitness and ballet because I feel like we're not getting the full experience of like Paula and Sandy being able to come up to us and adjust us to where we need to be.
Ballet, I think for me was the weirdest, just because it's really reliant on like the teacher being right there and correcting you and helping you. And like in skating, when I do something wrong, I can usually feel it and I can self-correct because I just have that experience. But in ballet, that's not the case. So trying to really hone in on the corrections that are given over Zoom and then like fixing them for yourself in a sport that's not really yours has been kind of challenging for me.
For sure, boot camp is a big moment for team bonding because like everyone spends almost a week together in like Placid, working on the programs, and like it's a lot of physical and emotional stress, and I think that kind of bonds everyone. We didn't have that this season, so there wasn't really a moment where we were like, oh, this is the team, this is who it's gonna be, we're gonna go through this season together.
It was just hard because what makes a good synchro team is the dynamic within the team. If you don't have a good dynamic, your program, as good as it can be, it just doesn't have that extra level of just like a passion and a connection. Because synchro, as you skate together and you're connected, you have to show a connection within the team, and you have to hold a lot of trust within your teammates. Normally, like I can look at someone in the program and be like, "You got this," but like, how can you do that if you don't know anybody? When we started practicing all together again in September, I think at that point, the whole team did have hope that we were going to actually compete.
We started off the season able to connect, which was great, and we did our short program, so we were working on that for a large chunk of the beginning of the season, and then all of a sudden we weren't able to connect anymore, and synchro obviously is a lot of connecting. We had to kind of change what we were doing at practice.
Usually we would be training our programs nonstop. It would be sections, run-throughs, we'd be putting elements together, we'd be perfecting the transitions between elements. Well, right now, with the restrictions that we have, we're not allowed to connect.
There's been trouble using practice time effectively because we've worked a lot on individual skating, which has been fun. It's been a little trying for a lot of people because we do come here to skate together and work together, and you can only do things by yourself so many times before you sit and wonder why you showed up at practice if you could have done this without the 3-hour drive at your own rink back home.
It was kind of painful at times, but I think it was helpful because we focused on the basics. We focused on our own basic individual skating skills a lot. And the best teams are the ones that have strong individuals. So I think that it was kind of nice to hone in on like the details because we'll have that in our toolkit next year, so that we're just starting at a higher baseline.
Our team has a lot of people who commute. We have people from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, Delaware, Maryland, and obviously states have different guidelines with COVID. So there were times where it was hard for people to get to practice just because legally we weren't allowed to travel from state to state.
So I live in Newark, Delaware. I go to UD, and personally, I couldn't get to practice from about September until I think it was November. I could finally start coming. That was really hard for me. because I'm someone who doesn't like to do things halfway, and not being able to fully commit to this, it was a very frustrating place for me to be in, because all I wanted to do was say, I'm here, I'm ready to work, and I'm ready to do whatever needs to be done, and I simply wasn't allowed to.
With the restrictions that we have, we're not allowed to be inside technically. We're supposed to put our skates on in the car. And I don't know about you, but warming up in 12-degree weather in January is not effective, and it's really a cause for injuries.
So that's been tough, especially for me. I've been fighting an injury, and warming up is crucial to not re-injuring myself. So the difficulty in warming up has been really kind of nerve-wracking for me, just because I don't want to get hurt permanently. I appreciate the concern for safety. I really do. I think that our health and safety is number one. So I appreciate the guidelines, but that doesn't mean it's fun.
When the competition started getting canceled earlier this fall, I was a little disappointed. I was really hoping by this point they were going to figure out a way to make it happen.
Finding out that there weren't going to be any competitions this year was definitely demotivating. It was like very much, why are we driving all the way up here, sitting in a hotel for half the weekend and just doing spins and turns and not really working on anything. I think it was just the fact that we were coming up here and seeing everyone that was very much like, okay, there are other people who want to do this. We're coming up here to skate and practice and work on things for next season, because that is what we have to look forward to at this point.
For me, I know I'm going to be here next season because it's my first year. I haven't gotten to experience what it's like on a senior team to compete at the senior level, which is why I'm here. So when I kind of figured out in October, mid-October, this isn't going to happen, I switched my mindset. So I was thinking, okay, everything I'm doing is for next season. I want to skate next season. I want us to be successful next season. I didn't lose motivation. I just shifted my motivation.
I've had a ton of emotional struggles. Being a little bit older in the sport, not many people still continue to skate at my age. I'm 28. I've had a lot of hard times deciding what I want to do. Skating was my outlet, and the fact that there really is no outlet for me anymore kind of makes things really, really difficult. It's hard to not know when you're going to be back competing. Skating is fun when you're competing, but when you're training and you're just at practice and your friends are missing because they've got things going on or like they've got restrictions, it takes kind of a mental toll of like, how positive can you be until you just can't be positive anymore.
During the month of December, we weren't able to physically be on the ice together, but we were still able to continue Zoom classes. So we had our Zoom ballet, fitness, and our sports psychology with the team.
For normal seasons, we definitely would not have taken a break in December like we did.
It's so fun being with your teammates and skating with your teammates and trying new things on the ice, and then to go like a month without having that, it was really sad not to be just skating synchro. Like I'm not an individual skater for a reason, and not being able to be with my team and skate with my team was not the best.
The hardest part about skating on your own versus skating with the team is I find that I can push myself on my own and like I know what I need to do, but you push yourself so much more when you're skating next to everybody else, because everybody on this team is so good. You skate to be like them and skate to their level. You can't let yourself go, and it's hard to continue skating at that level when you're by yourself.
I think especially during the months of like November through January, we weren't practicing at all really, except for on Zoom, and I was very demotivated at that point. Like I was still going to the rink and skating, but it got to a point where I was like, but for what? Especially since like everyone around me, I live in Boston, all the teams up there were practicing still, which was a little bit disheartening when I saw everyone going off to practice and I was sitting on Zoom doing workouts with my team of 13.
Hearing that Nationals was canceled was kind of a big blow in the sense that it would have been, like, personally my first Nationals competing with the senior team, and I was really looking forward to that. But it also kind of was expected considering where we were at the time.
This sounds a little selfish, but coming from the incredible disadvantage we've been at this season with not enough people on our team to even do a program, I was a little relieved when Nationals got canceled and Worlds thereafter, just because, not that we weren't willing to put in the work that needed to be done to get ourselves ready and find people and get programs moving. It would have been a very short time frame for a process that usually takes 4 to 5 months.
Honestly, the thought of going to Worlds was terrifying, not because I didn't believe in us, but because I didn't want to be embarrassed. And I think that we definitely could have pulled it off, but it just would have been so stressful. And then even traveling with the numbers continually going up, I think it would have been really hard for us to just be in the right mind space to compete at that level with the fear of a global pandemic going on.
I would say that we had a similar but also a very different experience than all the other teams this season. Of course, we were all dealing with the different mandates and rules about wearing masks and the unknown as well. But I also think that we all kind of took a different approach to the way that we viewed the season. I know some teams decided to kind of call their season a little bit early this year, especially after Nationals was canceled.
I think all senior teams had it way harder than a junior team, because everyone on a junior team, like Hockettes, they all live within an hour, 2 hours from each other, where we all come from different locations, and they were able to train as if they had a real season.
When I went home, I was able to go to the rink, train with the Fondy kids. I skated with them every single practice. I helped coach their programs. I ran Zoom classes with them. And it was really great to be able to help out even though I wasn't able to skate myself. There was a lot of struggles that came with this emotionally too, because there was times where I missed it so much. I missed skating with my team as well, and I just wanted to break down. But ultimately getting to help them and getting to train them and help them improve and achieve their goals for the season really, really helped me get through.
Health has not always been prioritized, and people have come to practice sick many occasions. I know anyone who's been in the sport for a long period of time has come to practice not necessarily feeling great. And this year with COVID, we've realized that just because you can push through something doesn't mean you necessarily should. Not only for you, but for the health and safety of your teammates as well. We all are here because we love it, and we all are dedicated to the sport, but it's important to remember that there are certain things that are bigger than this, and the perspective of how skating adds to our lives and in no way should take away from them is something that has become abundantly clear.
I think this time in this season has at least changed my perspective on how I think of synchro, because I always thought of synchro as something that I was competing in, and it was very much do your best, do it all the time. If you're not doing your best, then you need to stop, reevaluate, and not necessarily start over, but go back to what's wrong and do it again and again and again until you get it right. And this season I'm more thinking about it going into next season as it's a sport, it's something you love to do. Don't take that for granted, because you don't know when you're gonna have to stop or when you're gonna decide to stop.
Coming into the season, as different as it was, I actually love skating so much more now than I did prior to this, and skating on a team like this and skating at this level has made me realize that I do have so much more potential to give out, and so I love it so much more now than I did, and I never realized I could. Just despite all the restrictions with COVID, being here is good enough.
I was just so excited to be out here, and I just love skating. It doesn't matter if it's on a team or if it's individual. If I'm at practice at a competition, I'm gonna show up and do my job, and just because I love to do it. And so I think it was a good time to just really reflect on how I train and how I work with other people, and it's just been a good eye-opener and learning experience, honestly.
I think this has really solidified in my mind that I genuinely love the sport, and I don't just love the glory of competition, because I've still really enjoyed this season. Even though I didn't get to win medals and travel and do all those things, I still loved practice.
I think things will get back to normal by next season. You know, I still see us wearing masks and training with masks as we move forward into the spring season. I'm really hoping that we can get back to our normal competitions this coming December. And I'm really hoping that we can continue with the international season with nationals and hopefully worlds, because I think we're all ready to get going and really stay motivated as a team.
I think that with the vaccine, obviously, things are going to change, and it's so hard to tell. You know, we're in April 2020, and it's like, all right, April 2021, it's going to be gone. And we're already almost in March 2021, and it's not gone. So I think, honestly, only time can tell with this, and you just have to hope that it will be back to normal.
I feel like we had our ups and downs, but overall I'm happy that we did what we did. I'm happy that it happened, and I'm really impressed with what we were able to accomplish with what we had, because I don't think there might have been one singular practice that all 13 of us were on the ice at the same time. And the fact that we've been able to work on so much and accomplish as much as we have, it's pretty remarkable, honestly.
I think this is definitely an experience that the girls on our team will remember and will honestly probably motivate all of us, because we'll be like, we worked so hard that season for everything to get canceled, so we're gonna work even harder for when things aren't gonna get canceled, and we're gonna show up and we're gonna be the best that we can be.
As much as this season was a challenge, I would not change the way it happened and the people who experienced it with me. I think there's a big future for our team and just what we have to accomplish, and I think this year has just made everyone more hungry for the next.